Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item. Current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Kiara Profena. Together we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today, we're here to help you plan your next trip to the Oregon coast.
Now, a lot of you might think that you don't need any help planning a coast trip, that you already have your favorite beach, your go-to seafood place, the hikes where you can get those incredible ocean views. But we're here to help answer what is probably the biggest question I get, at least, when people are planning a coast trip. And that's, where am I going to stay?
That's an important one. And as someone who is actually, I don't think I've ever stayed at a hotel on the coast, I'm pretty interested to hear what your recommendations are.
Well, there's hotels are obviously one facet of this, right? If you're looking at where to stay the night on the coast, you've got campgrounds. There are so many coast state park campgrounds. You have beach houses, obviously, just so many different kinds of ways to stay. There's private rentals that are sort of like a private campground. There's the vintage RVs. I mean, there's just so many different places. But to sort of hone in on this, I wanted to talk about specifically hotels. And part of that is because I'm just sort of feeling hotels these days. I'm kind of over Airbnbs. It's just I've had too many bad experiences in a row. And beach houses are great if you have a huge family, but I've had a situation where I'm paying so much money for a big beach house for me and one other person, and I'm why am I doing this? Why don't I just find something that's more affordable or more matches my needs and just go to a good old-fashioned hotel?
That's fair. I mean, there's also camping, which I assume you've done a lot of on the coast.
Which is competitive. It's great. If the weather's nice, it's great. So the thing about the hotels too is if I'm going in January, I'm not going to go camp. That's just me. Some people love to do that. I have done it before. I've done some rainy coast camping. It is not always very fun. It's just a lot of sitting huddled in a cold tent,
Yeah, I think being in a hotel room sounds a little bit more up my alley.
It's nice. It's nicer. So we are talking about, I did this story on the 10 best hotels in the Oregon coast. And that was a little bit of a sort of a tougher task of narrowing that down because there are so many hotels on the coast. So many. So what I was trying to think of were places that are special, right? So, I mean, this is not just your Best Western. It's not just your regular schmegular hotel that has all the regular amenities. These are places that have a little something that makes it feel a little different, at least in my mind. And I'm sure that I missed spots in this. This is a classic story for me to get emails. It's you forgot about, and what about, and I can't believe you didn't include.
And these are kind of all up and down the Oregon coast?
Yes. I tried to get some geographic range in. So It's not quite northern tip to southern tip, but there are spots included in the entire coastline. And we're not going to get into all 10 today because that is a lot, but we are going to get into most of them, I think. I pulled out some that either I've stayed at or that are I think are really notable here.
And which ones have you stayed at specifically?
Well, let's find out, huh? As we get into them. Well, I want to start off as we're talking about this at the very north coast at Astoria. So Astoria, which is like not really a beach town, it's sort of more of a river town, but I count it as a coast town all the same. Such a good place to stay, especially if you're coming from the Portland area. It's just, basically due west and a little bit north. I love Astoria. Have you spent much time there yet, Kiara?
No, I don't think I've actually been to Astoria.
Boy. It's a great place for an overnighter because there's like a vibrant downtown happening. There's a lot of stuff to do, restaurants, breweries. There's the Oregon Film Museum is out there. There's a couple of really good museums out there. And just some incredible views of the Columbia River as it reaches the Pacific Ocean. And then like Fort Stevens State Park is pretty close. There's just a lot of stuff right there. So it's a good spot to sort of stay in the thick of things, which I really like about it. And my go-to place to stay in that sort of downtown area is a place called the Norblad Hotel.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about it.
This is like, when I said the words like budget hotel, that has a negative connotation to it, but it's very affordable. It's a boutique hotel. They have sort of taken this old building and they've crafted these like individual rooms out of it. And some of them are like what you think of, like it's got like, several beds, it's got like a private bathroom, but these are also places that have shared bathrooms between smaller rooms. So if you're looking to spend like less than $100 a night in a room, which a lot of times that's exactly what I want. And if you're okay with a shared bathroom, which that's not a problem. Some people that's a deal breaker, but if you're willing to do that, then Norblad is a great place to get into downtown Astoria at a low price.
Does it have anything like unique about it, kind of besides this budget friendly option and being kind of a little bit unique in its layout?
The rooms are all different, right? That was sort of the idea behind it. Is like, let's make each of these rooms a little bit different, a little bit unique. And then it just has that kind of the thing that boutique hotels do where like they have like communal spaces. There's sort of like a little lounge area when you walk in by the front desk. It's like, super chill and laid back. And there's like, vinyl records that someone's playing and some couches and some cool lighting. So it's like very much meant to sort of like be a place to kind of hang out. But it's also like within walking distance of all the things you want in Astoria. So I view it as a place like where you can like stay the night and get out and like walk downtown and do all the things. You can walk and get a little trolley that takes you down the waterfront. You can walk to the museums. You can walk to dinner. You can walk to breakfast. There's just so many things you can do there.
Got it. It feels like not in a negative way, but giving hostel vibes a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without being a hostel.
Yeah. That
exactly.
community aspect.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. So like that's kind of like my go-to place in Astoria. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it's one of the big hotels in Astoria that is on this list of top 10, and that's the Cannery Pier Hotel. This is built on like out on the pier. At the foot of the Astoria Megler Bridge. So it's like in the water, basically. And this is definitely one of your like more luxury hotels. I've not stayed there. I don't have that kind of money to stay at Cannery Pier. But it is like, just totally romantic in the sense that it's like out there in the river and like the bridge is there. And I'm sure barges come by and maybe that's romantic for some people. But like there's a spa on site, and there's like the Bridgewater Bistro is this restaurant like just next door. I have been to. It's really good actually. All of it kind of has added up to this place having this reputation on the Oregon coast, and it was named among Newsweek's top 10 waterfront hotels in the U.S. Okay. If you're into that sort of thing, that's a ranking it got. So it just seems like if you are looking for more luxurious time, the Cannery Pier is a great spot to go do that.
It sounds like something to aspire to afford. It looks really cool though.
Exactly. And moving right along here, because this is actually a good segue into another of, I think, probably the coast's best known luxury hotel. Again, I have not stayed here, but the Stephanie Inn in Cannon Beach. This is a place where it is like it keeps getting accolades. Of course, we write about all of these anytime it gets any kind of accolade, but it was named one of the world's best hotels, one of the best beach resorts in the U.S., one of the highest rated resorts in the country. This is a place that just has like that romantic luxury vibe.
Mm-hmm.
The rooms are nice. There's like, a really incredible restaurant on site. There's like this beautiful spa there. The views are looking out at the ocean with Haystack Rock right there. I mean, it's just like if you want to spend some coin on a really nice stay, this is a great place to do it.
Right. And you said out of all these 10, you've only not been to 2. Is this the other one?
Well, I guess maybe I haven't been to 3 or so, but yeah, this is definitely one.
Okay.
Stephanie Inn, Cannery Pier, the luxury places. I don't see a world in which I'm ever gonna go there, but like I'm happy for folks who can and do. That's good for you. So it seems like a really great spot. I think a romantic spot also in that like the hotel does not allow guests younger than 12.
Ooh.
It's sort of like famous. That sort of gets there in there. They're like, people think about romantic hotels. They're like, oh, there's no kids that are going to be there. There could be some teenagers there, certainly, but like you're not going to get a lot of like screaming children.
Yeah, that does really up the vibe for a lot of people.
So you've got, all these pieces like the nice restaurant, the spa, the no children, the nice views, the good rooms. It's really that kind of place. And while that's, again, like not my scene, I'm happy it exists. And I know that that's a lot of people's scene. So, I mean, again, if you can afford to go spend a night at the Stephanie Inn, go for it. Save up, make a special occasion, and just, enjoy it.
Got it. And any other options near Cannon Beach that you have?
I mean, I've stayed at a lot of like, small rentals in Cannon Beach. I was just walking through town recently and there's like a bunch of these little like hotels along the main drag. They're like little motels basically, but like little rentals of varying vibes and prices. So there's just like a lot of places to stay there. I stayed in a little apartment above some shops one time. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. I like to stay in the thick of things in Cannon Beach. I like to be able to sort of walk to, similar to Astoria. I want to walk to breakfast. I want to walk to dinner. I want to walk to the beach. And Cannon Beach has a lot of places that you can do that. So you don't have to spend $900 a night to do that. You can spend, a much more reasonable price. But Cannon Beach in general is going to be more expensive to stay than a lot of other places on the coast.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Cannon Beach is one place that I have been. So I know a little bit about that downtown area, but haven't stayed anywhere overnight there.
Well, when it's so close to Portland, it's such an easy day trip.
It is, yeah. That's why most of the times I go to the coast, it's just driving out in the morning and coming back at night. So I also really like my house. So I really like where I live. So I tend to try to sleep in my house if I can.
I feel that. So, I mean, the times that you need a hotel are when you're getting a little farther afield, right? Cannon Beach, it's easy to say, well, I'm just going to drive home.
Yes.
It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours back home. I'm just going to do it. As we start getting farther down the coast, it might be more tempting to stay the night. Mm-hmm. So the next one we have on our list is in Depot Bay. And Depot Bay is Central Coast, sort of North Central Coast. So it's still like you could day trip out to Depot Bay and back. I've done it. But, it might be a little more tempting to stay the night.
Yeah.
And Depot Bay, in contrast to Cannon Beach and Astoria, it's a much smaller town. There's just like a really small drag, a lot of really great stuff there. I love Depot Bay. But it is just sort of like, for a lot of people, a drive through town. I mean, you should really stop off and get some chowder in Depot Bay. There's a couple good chowder spots. But if you want to stay the night, one of my favorite places, and this is sort of getting a little fancier, but not to the luxury of Stephanie Inn or anything, is a place called the Channel House. And this is located right on the mouth of the Depot Bay itself, the little harbor, which is, I think it's like the world's smallest harbor or something like that. So like whale watching boats will come out there under the bridge. And so the Channel House is located right there on this like rocky coastline looking over the ocean. And the nice bit about the Channel House is that, like, I don't think it's every room, but most rooms have a balcony overlooking the ocean. Mm-hmm. And on the balcony is a hot tub.
Wow. That's really, that entices me. I love a hot tub.
And the hot tub on the balcony looking at the ocean is like, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah.
They don't offer a ton more than that. Like there's a really like charming sort of breakfast area where like you can order breakfast and like it's really nice. But for me, it's all about that balcony overlook, the ocean and the hot tub. Like that's it.
Have you been in one of these hot tubs?
Yes, I have.
Is it as amazing as it sounds?
The first time I was there, we checked in, and it was sort of the golden hour, like 5 o'clock, and I went straight to the hot tub, obviously, and I was sitting there looking out at the ocean, and I swear to God, I saw a gray whale breach out in the ocean. I've never seen that before, except that one moment. I didn't know about whales then, and so the person who was with me came back, and she was like, "Oh, how's the view?" And I told her, "Oh, I saw this gray whale breach." She was like, "What?" I've never seen a gray whale breach, and I've been looking for years. And I was like, "Oh no, it just happened right out there." It
like this
great.
person was on the coast, had been looking on the coast for years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You never see gray whales breach. Sometimes, not never, but they're not like a humpback. They don't breach that often. So I mean, it was like an incredible experience just within an hour of being there. So I've stayed there a couple times, and it's just always just this incredible, perfect. Like, I mean, I love hot tubs. I love the coast. I mean, you can't beat that.
Right. That sounds like a pretty high option on this list.
And it's, I mean, the reason we're not talking about a lot of prices here specifically is because prices like they fluctuate so much.
Right.
Depending on season, and then also like depending on the economy or whatever. But last I looked, the Channel House was sort of in that like 300 a night range, 3 to 4. So for me, that's kind of my upper limit.
Yeah.
Like that's starting to get like, I can't do much more than that. But it's not quite the $900 a night the Stephanie Inn is.
Fair. It's a good upper limit to have.
Yeah. So this is, I think upscale for many people, but sort of mid-level in what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. And so moving down a little bit.
Yeah, let's keep moving down the Central Coast here. One of my favorite towns on the Central Coast is Yachats. I love Yachats. Again, sort of a small downtown, but it's a place where like every business is great. Like each restaurant is really good. The coffee shop is really good. There's a cool record store. Like the ice cream is good. The fish and chips is good. Like everything is just good there. And my favorite place to stay in Yachats, I don't know if I've stayed anywhere else, honestly. I always just stay at this place, is the Drift Inn. And the Drift Inn is like an old like pub and brothel that has been transformed. Like the pub is still a pub downstairs. Mm-hmm. So like there's like, a bar, and they have live music and a bunch of booths they serve, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then upstairs and sort of sprawling across the property are all these different rooms. And this is where each one is like it's really interesting and different. Each room is unique. There's the Heron's Roost, and it's like, this big mural of like a heron in an estuary painted on the wall.
Ooh.
And like, there's each one just has these feelings to it. And I love that. And they're all pretty affordable as well. So this is, again, we're sort of talking like maybe more like you're at the low price. They have like these little tiny biker, like cyclist rooms where like if you're cycling the coast, you can pop in and get just like a little place to stay. And those are like, I want to say like $50 or $60 a night, maybe more than that, but just not very much. And these other rooms are, more like the $150, $250 range, which is really more in my wheelhouse personally.
Mm-hmm.
And each one, again, is really interesting and different, and it's right there downtown.
So is there one theme that was maybe your favorite that you've stayed in?
I don't remember what it's called. It might have been called like On Top of the World or something. It was one of the higher up ones, and it had a view looking out at the ocean in this sort of like angular, like floor to ceiling window situation, with like a day bed, I guess you might call it, in this living room area. And Sadie and I went there in, I think it was March. It was over Easter weekend one of these years, and it was raining the whole time, just pouring rain. So we thought we were going to go out to the beach and have some sun. We got nothing. It was just rain. So we just sat in there and like pulled books off of the shelf in this like room. They had like, little books for people left behind. And we just like, read those books and sat in sort of like the gray light and listened to the rain. And it was amazing.
Yeah, that
So
kind of
good.
sounds really peaceful.
Yeah. And then, put our coats on and ran out to all the little restaurants and coffee shops when we needed to eat. And they were all great. So, I mean, I love this spot. Drift Inn is great. I've had nothing but good experiences with them. I won't stay anywhere else now because it's just, for me, like too perfect.
That sounds like a really unique place. So I love the creativity and uniqueness of some of these places that you're mentioning.
That's the thing. I think, and this is no knock to these other bigger hotels. There's a lot of great independent hotels that do regular hotel stuff. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. I'm always looking for something that's a little bit different. And part of that's because it's my job to find those places. But I'm also drawn to places that are like taking some risks, trying some new things, and keeping things affordable. There's a difference between being like, our unique thing is we're going to have a 5-star restaurant in our hotel.
Fair.
Versus our unique thing is going to be we're going to paint a fun mural and give it a fun, whimsical name. I'm more looking for the latter here.
I love a fun mural, so I'm with you.
So moving down a little bit farther, this is an interesting place here. Just outside Florence is Heceta Head. Heceta Head is state park, and it's a state park with a really cool lighthouse. Are you familiar with this lighthouse? Have you seen this?
No, I have not.
I love that. Really, if you're in that area, it's a really cool old lighthouse. They keep up really well, like on the cliffs, and there's like a beach and the cliffs and the lighthouse. It's just very idyllic. And there's an old lighthouse keeper's quarters there too. It's like, where the lighthouse keeper would live with his family. Mm-hmm. And that historic building has been turned into a bed and breakfast.
Very cool.
And that is the Heceta Lighthouse Bed and Breakfast now, which advertises itself as a place to, quote, fulfill a fantasy. So
the lighthouse keeper fantasy?
I think so. It's sort of Victorian decor.
Okay.
Think of like, the 4-post bed kind of thing. Every room has one bed. They're like it's a small room with one bed. So you're not getting like, a suite or anything like that. But you are like in this state park overlooking the ocean with like a lighthouse there, which is really cool. I mean, there's not a lot of places where you can say that you can have that experience. I think hence the fantasy, right? It's like this romantic, like a rare opportunity to have this kind of experience. So they're very cozy quarters. They offer, true to their name, a 7-course breakfast every morning.
Wow.
So big breakfast, cozy rooms. And I want to say it was like reasonably priced as well. This is like, again, not a budget experience, but like definitely not, it's not going to totally break the bank for a lot of people.
Have you been to this one?
I've not. I've like been outside of it.
Yeah.
Like I've walked by.
Almost.
Yeah. I've, hiked up to the lighthouse and gone, oh, that'd be cool to stay there sometime. And just haven't done it. But I certainly would. So there's only 6 rooms at this place. So I think it's not as competitive as you'd think.
Okay.
Except for certain parts of the year. But this is like a spot where people really like book it out for a wedding.
Gotcha.
You can imagine like, okay, you get like, the wedding party or like, your parents, and you can get married there and have like, you can stay the night there and book the whole place out. There's like a full kitchen that you can, you rent and all this stuff. So that's a cool opportunity as well, or like a family reunion. So like I think it's popular for that sort of experience.
That makes sense. Probably very picturesque there, I can imagine.
Yes, exactly. So one more spot I wanted to highlight from this list. Farther down on the south coast in the town of, it's in North Bend, but that's also like there's several towns that are kind of in that area. But in North Bend technically is the Itty Bitty Inn. I love the Itty Bitty Inn. I stayed there a few times. Our colleague Sam Swindler went there to do a story on it last year where she highlighted the Star Trek room.
Ooh.
It is a room designed to look like the original Star Trek Enterprise ship.
Very cool.
So like that has become like people like take trips to go to that room specifically. But there's also like a 70s disco room. And there's also like, I think a couple of tiki rooms. I've stayed at the tiki room myself. Very cool. It's like a little tiny motel that they bought right off 101. And their thing is they've just made all the rooms really cool and different. Again, this is like, how do you make yourself special? How do you stand out? By making a room into the Star Trek spaceship. Like,
how to win over Jamie Hale sounds like.
With a little creativity. Yeah, that's right. So like it's their thing is like they're going for geek chic is what they say. But it's also just like a really good location. So again, right off 101, right when you get into town, but it's like technically within walking distance of several places. You might want to get in your car to go to a lot of spots, but like you can stop there. And if you're tired of being in the car, walk to dinner, walk to a park. I've done that before, and it's just a really good spot to do that.
Mm-hmm. And is there a lot to do in North Bend area? I haven't been to the southern coast.
The main thing to do in this part of the town is it's sort of North Bend, Coos Bay, Charleston. I think it's technically one of the most populated cities in the coast. But
okay.
The main thing people do there is you go to this trio of state parks. You've got Sunset Bay, Shore Acres, and Cape Arago. They're all on one highway out along the coastline. Each one is great. Sunset Bay is a really cool like low tide park in this little kind of inlet. Mm-hmm. And then Shore Acres is like there's like an old like a traditional English garden on this like old estate on the cliffs, and you can like walk down to a beach from there. And in the wintertime, they do a holiday light display at Shore Acres, which is really cool. So they turn that garden into like this like walk through light display with sort of like coast themed, like there's like a light up whale that does a spout, and like there's little crabs and all this stuff. Very cool. And then Cape Arago just has some really good views and a couple of good beaches you can walk down to, but it's sort of known as a place where a lot of sea life gathers in that area.
Got it. That sounds very cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool spot. And there's just, I mean, you're really close to the dunes there also. So, I mean, just a lot to do in that area. But gosh, itty bitty inn is just, this is again, it's like a place where it's very affordable. It's very cool. You're not going to see anything else like it. Mm-hmm. And it's very convenient. Yeah.
It seems like it's kind of an ideal situation if you have a motel to be able to spice it up a little bit.
And all of these places, I've not had difficulty booking them for the most part. I think people are still kind of in a mindset of, I'm going to the beach, I'm going to get a beach house. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to the beach, I'm going to get an Airbnb. Or I'm going to go camping. Hotels weirdly have become overlooked. And I think for a lot of folks, and maybe, by pushing this, they're going to stop becoming overlooked and harder to book. But I think that's okay, because I love to give business to these folks who are out there providing this great service and doing these cool things. I think it's just, I love the hotel culture out there.
Yeah. It sounds like it's very, very unique. And so kind of besides these hotels that we got into, do you have any other recommendations or places?
Well, yeah, I want to mention a few spots that didn't quite make this cut of the list for various reasons. One is a place called Hotel Sylvia. It used to be known as Sylvia Beach Hotel. This is a literary themed hotel in Newport.
Ooh.
Where every room is like a different author themed room, and there's like no Wi-Fi, and like they have like a library, and you're just like, I remember just like reading a book in like the loft of this big building on the coast during a winter storm, and the building was like shaking, and I was reading like a spooky section of this book, and I was like, wow, this is so cool.
I think I'm biased because this would absolutely be in my top of my list. My English major brain loves this.
Well, the reason it's not on the list is because they are under new ownership and they've been closed. And I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like when they reopen.
Got it.
Keeping the name Sylvia Plath, it makes me believe that they're going to continue this sort of literary theme. But I think we'll just have to wait and see when they reopen, I think later this year even, what that's going to look like.
Gosh, I hope so. This already is sounding like the perfect spot for me.
Another spot is the Inn at Otter Crest. I love this place. It's like this sort of sprawling complex of condos and apartments right on the cliffs over top this great beach at Otter Crest. It's right next to Devil's Punch Bowl. It's a great beach for sunset. I love it here, but it's not a hotel. it's a place where all of these units are individually privately owned. So it's sort of like doing Airbnb, but you're doing it through the Inn at Otter Crest, or probably other places as well. So it's not, it didn't make sense to include it on a list of hotels, but the Inn at Otter Crest is a great place to stay on the Central Coast if you're looking for something.
Got it.
And the last spot I want to mention is talking about state parks, the deluxe cabins at Cape Lookout State Park. I've stayed in deluxe cabins. I've stayed at Cape Lookout. I've not stayed at the deluxe cabins at Cape Lookout, but I've walked by them again, and they're in an incredible location. A deluxe cabin is different than the other cabins at state parks in that they have their own bathroom, and they have sort of like a small kitchen setup. So it's more self-contained. You don't have to like walk outside to use the campground bathroom. So it's a bit more luxurious in that way. But these are like obviously super affordable because they're state park cabins. But it's right there on the beach. And you just can't get much better than that. There's not much better access to the beach than at this place. So highly recommend that as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of these places are kind of, that selling point is being walkable, being able to get to either the town or the beach.
Well, for me, that's like if I'm spending all day in the car driving to the coast, I don't want to get back in the car to drive to the beach or to drive to dinner.
Very true.
That's me, you know, and like I want something that's like close into where I'm going to be. I love to be at a beach town and just walk around, or, you know, get on a bike and bike around. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like all really great options for that.
Which ones have caught your eye? Aside from Sylvia Beach Hotel.
Right. I think the two that I like is I'm with you. I agree that the unique room concept, so the Itty Bitty Hotel and the Drift Inn are both like also not too expensive. I'm in the same, you know, ballpark as you, so I don't want to spend too much to stay at a hotel every night, and I do want something special if I'm going to be spending money to stay somewhere. So I think those are the ones that stand out most to me.
Yeah, I love it. We're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah.
You know, for me, if I'm going to splurge, it's going to be at the Channel House to get that hot tub overlooking the ocean.
Fair.
That's all I need. I don't need the fancy restaurant. I don't need the spa treatment. Just give me that hot tub at the ocean and I'm set.
Yeah, I love a good hot tub. I have considered moving many times to an apartment complex with a hot tub, so I'm right there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, next time we're going to talk about hot tubs, I guess. Well, folks, that will do it for us for today. Until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/pod support. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@oregonian.com. This episode of the show was produced by me alongside Jamie Hale and Vicky Connor.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.